What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of my hip hop review. This is your boy Reg in the building. Shout out to my homeboy Ronnie Coolier. Finally doing this album for you and shit like that. I know it's been a while since you requested me to do this album, but what better now than never? It's gonna be the Poor Righteous Teachers with the debut album, Holy Intellect, released in 1990 on Profile, which was under Arista. Obviously, I don't have the album present with me, so yeah. Alright, so singles albums known for were Rock This Funky Joint and A Holy Intellect. So I gotta be really honest with you guys. I'm really not the biggest fan of Poor Righteous Teachers, but I always felt that they were very underrated, very underrated. And here's the reason why I say that, because before I get into their discography, who they are and shit, I just want to say like they from they are from Trenton, New Jersey and shit like that. And although like New Jersey is not as big as like New York when it comes to like a lot of hip hop and shit like that, it did house some pretty good big names and shit. I always felt like when it comes to New Jersey, they always get overshadowed by people at their time period like Queen Latifah or Apache, Naughty by Nature and shit like that. And then if you want to go into like years later, you had cats like, of course, the Fugees and Apache, and of course Redman, of course, and shit. So in my opinion, the best rapper to come from Jersey, in my personal opinion, Redman. But that's another story for a different day. Also, I also found them pretty underrated because when it comes to like conscious hip hop and shit, you rarely hear Poor Righteous Teachers getting mentioned and stuff because at that time you had cats like Boogie Down Productions, Public Enemy, you had X Clan, you had fucking and then of course you had Brand Nubian, another rap group that came out the same year, and they were talking about the whole 5% shit, that Poor Righteous Teacher were talking about too. So a lot of people always like to say that Brand Nubian was like the only rap group to talk about that shit, where like you had cats like Poor Righteous Teachers, which was doing it very well too. You know what I'm saying? And they really kept that 5% vibe with all throughout the whole music and shit like that. One more thing I want to say before I get into this review. Wise Intelligence definitely a top 5 underrated MCs of all time. Definitely. And I'm going to talk more about Wise Intelligence, but I just really had to get that out there when it comes to Poor Righteous Teachers. And I know it took me a while to review this album. I kept saying I'm going to do this album, but I was really just trying to study them and shit. Because I just really listened to the Black Business album earlier today and shit. And I need to get my hands on that album. That album is very hard to come by. And so a lot of their albums are very hard to come by. So this camera, give me 1 second. This camera's always bugging me. All right. With that being said, let me discuss who the Poor Righteous Teachers are. Now, Poor Righteous Teachers are a rap group that's from Trenton, New Jersey. Members include Wise Intelligent, as I mentioned, Culture Freedom, Father Shahid, rest in peace, and to an extent, I would say Tony D, the producer, rest in peace to him as well. Like, Tony D was like the unofficial member, like, as Prince Paul was to De La Soul, Tony D was to Poor Righteous Teachers, to put it bluntly. So, they got together, they actually got together while Wise and Culture, they were doing demos and stuff like that, and they got into hip hop, started writing rhymes and stuff, and they formed in '89. They hooked up with Tony D, who Tony D at that time he definitely had a following. He was definitely like a huge figure back in Jersey at that time and stuff, and so they dropped their first single in '89, "Time to Say Peace," with the B-side called "Butt Naked Booty Blessed" and shit, which I'm gonna talk about that once I get to the album. They dropped that single on Northside Records and shit. And according to my sources, they were originally going to put it on Diversity Records, which was owned by this Tim Baylor and YZ. But what ended up happening was that they were playing. I think, according to like Wise Intelligent, they were playing around, procrastinating and shit like that, and they got fed up, and so they were trying to get their wheel back, and YZ didn't want to give them the wheel, and so he wanted them to pay for the wheel and shit like that. So that kind of had like a little beef between Poor Righteous Teachers and the YZ, which kind of went on for like a couple years and shit. Um, by the way, speaking of YZ, you guys check out the diss track he put out against Poor Righteous Teachers called Dizzle Affair. Dope diss track, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not, like I said, I don't even know too much about YZ either, so I need to get my history up on that shit, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, they relocated to, Profile Records and shit, recorded, then actually, DJ Father Shahid, actually joined the group too, because he later joined the group and shit, formed Poor Righteous Teachers, and that's when the Holy Intellect album came out. Alright, so this album got 12 songs, so let's get started. Track number 1, Can I Start This? Very, very, very dope track and shit like that. Very dope track. Nice way to start off the album. You hear Tony D talking shit, and they didn't want to get that Tony D rap and shit, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was a very dope song and shit, Track number 2, Rock This Funky Joint. Possibly my favorite song, 1 out of 2 favorite songs off this album. Excuse me. Like, and one of the things that I've always loved about Poor Righteous Teachers was definitely Tony D's production. Him and Eric IQ Grade was doing this album and shit like that, and just his unorthodox way of having the simplest loops and shit like that. It was just very dope, and it very complements well with Wise Intelligent, Wise and Culture and shit like that. Mostly with Wise and shit like that, because Wise definitely had that unorthodox style and shit, and it blended well. Like, with that being said, with this song right here, Rock This Funky Joint, first of all, the sample, that was a nice sample as well. And you had this Wise and Culture saying some shit like, the fabric, mathematic, black be that of an Asiatic. Rock the test ship, track the static. And that you're rocking to my concept. Now, guys, I stand for this wise, civilized, and hip-hop rhyme. From the black man to kicking it to all the time. Like, fucking dope and shit like that, man. Just the way they put their fucking words together. Very interesting song. This is another song where I kind of felt like could also be a favorite, but I'm gonna save that for later. Next track, Strictly Ghetto is the next track. That's another dope song right there. Profile originally wanted that song to be the debut single, actually, which I can see why they did that. And shit like that, but I feel like Rock This Funky Joint was just a perfect song right there. Track number 4, Holy Intellect. This song definitely has a house feel towards it and shit like that. Definitely another dope song right there. Yeah, very cool song. Track number 5, Shaquilla. Shaquilla's definitely a lot of hip hop fans and fans of this group have called this song, one of the greatest hip hop love songs of all time. Like, it uses the same sample, the Zap sample, uses the same sample as Tupac. Used the sample, I think Kane used that sample and shit like that. Yeah. Like, fucking dope song and shit like that. Like, you have Wise Intelligent rapping and Culture Freedom on the chorus and shit like that, singing, which is not corny. It actually blends well with the song and shit like that. Yeah, just giving a shout out to this girl named Shaquilla. Just everything about this girl is like they fucking talking about. Like he feel like he got the one and only and shit. You know. Yeah, very dope song. Very dope song. I love this song. Yeah. Track number 6, Time to Say Peace. This is like the first single. This was the first single and shit like that. They kinda reworked this song for the album and shit like that. They kind of reworked the song a little bit. Yeah, this song right here, Time to Say Peace, was definitely a banger and shit like that. Wise Intelligent went in on that song. Track number 7, Style Drop slash Lessons Taught. That song was I wasn't really too crazy about that one lyrically. I mean, not lyrically, but on the whole. Track number 8, Speaking Upon a Black Man. Fucking dope song, man. Like this fucking incredible song in my opinion. This is another one of my favorite songs. This along with Rock This Funky Joint, the fucking hard ass beat and shit like that. Being the 5%ers that they are and shit like that. This song was talking about the devil, which in 5%er language, the devil is supposed to mean like the white man basically and shit like that. So yeah, I kind of felt like that the song definitely went in on this song and shit like that. Some of my favorite lyrics was when he's saying some shit like PRT posse founded by some teachers, a couple of microphones and turntables into speakers. Why is manifestations of the words I manifest? Support from all the gods up in divine land projects. Like, whoo. Then I'm not selling drugs. I'm for the people of the defined land, low income projects. That is, poor righteous teacher keep the head above negative. Well, very true, but what must one do to get it through to you? And yeah, that line is fucking true and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because if you definitely look at like the hip hop game today and shit like that, you have like the hip hop game making a big emphasis on like the Xanax, like the drug culture and shit like that, like lean, and it's just like all poor righteous teachers want to do is just uplift the fucking community with hip hop music and shit like that, So, speaking upon a black man, definitely a dope song and shit like that. Love this song, Fuck. Track number 9, So Many Teachers. Another very dope album, very dope song. What I got from So Many Teachers was you have all these teachers and shit like that, but are they really like teaching you, or basically are they really practicing what they preach and shit like that? That's what I got from that. And it's like we're the real teachers that know what they're talking about, actually care for the well being and shit like that, and just speaking facts and shit. That's what I got from So Many Teachers. And they kind of also criticize Christianity on this song as well and shit. So yeah. Track number 10, Words from the Wise. Very good song. Love this song. It's just, as the title suggests, is like Wise Intelligent going in on the mic, which calls for freedom, coming in the mic and with the ad libs and shit like that. Yeah, Wise Intelligent just goes ham and shit like that. Some lines was like, I self-lord and my everyday aggravation, meditating, awaiting on the way to get away, not run son, the son of man can't stay in this land where blacks say symbolic to the prey, like. Basically, yeah, fucking dope line right there and shit, Track number 11, Butt Naked Booty Bless. Yeah, these were like the first singles and shit like that. They're not actually talking about booty as an ass and shit like that. Just going ham. They're just speaking that raw shit. That's what I got from that song and stuff. So, and the last track, which is Poor Righteous Teachers. Yes, another group that names a song after themselves and shit like that. But this song was alright. Not really. I wouldn't have ended the song off with this track though. I kind of felt like speaking upon a black man definitely deserves that honor, but I'll take it for what it is. And that's all the songs off this album. Overall, very dope album. I'm not gonna front. You know, this album actually grew on me. It actually grew on me and shit. If you guys were ever to, if you guys want to get into like conscious hip hop, you know, 5%, this is the perfect album for you to listen to. Like the beats definitely have like more of like a house feel, because you gotta like remember like the late '80s up to the early '90s, house music was getting popular, and like you know, I know I kind of peep with certain rappers from like Jersey, like with you know Queen Latifah, and are the Jungle Brothers from Jersey? Hold on, Jungle Brothers. Well, Jungle Brothers, yeah, they from New York. They from New York. Excuse me. But yeah, like a lot of like rappers like was kind of like experiments with house music and whatnot, and you kind of got a little bit with this album, a little bit, but Tony D has that experimental production and shit like that. Like not as experimental as Prince Paul, but it's just straight to the point, you know, and shit like that. You know, very dope song, very dope producer and shit. Rest in peace to Tony D. Um, also, this album, I believe this album is actually out of print. It's actually out of print in the U.S., but they re-released it overseas and shit. If you guys can find this album, most definitely cop this album and shit like that. I don't even have this album, and I might want to track down this album one day and stuff. I mean, it's not. I don't think it should be that expensive, but a lot of their works, like if you want to get like Black Business or what's that one joint name, Pure Poverty, be prepared to pay like a lot of money for those albums. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, that is Poor Righteous Teachers with the Holy Intellect album released in 1990. Finally glad I finally did a review on this album. And this is your boy Reg here. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.